Hey guys, it's Ross Scott, and on the Space Craft today, me and Mike watched this, as I've been telling you, and we thoroughly enjoyed it. Classic of both our childhoods, isn't it?
Yes, 100%.
And there we see. That's lovely, the twisted face. When I saw that, that reminds me of, I forget which Hellraiser film it is, where the two twins get jammed together, and how their face is all twisted
You're
up.
probably more familiar with the Hellraisers than I am. I watched the first one, and I have vague memories of that at best.
Yeah, but anyway, something for us to watch another time. But yes, this, it's absolutely, the cinematography in it is great. You actually mentioned, before we watched it, to watch for the wide shots and then the close-in shots.
Yeah, well, when they are in the Antarctic, you can see loads of wide shots to give you that sense of, you know, they're in the middle of nowhere. There's nowhere for them to go.
They may as well be on Mars.
Yeah, and then in complete contrast, once they're in their enclosure, lots of narrow shots, darkly lit areas to give you that sense of claustrophobia. But we can get into that as we...
I tell you what, I did really like the dog, the wolf, or whatever it really is, because in the documentary they say it was like, actually it was a part wolf or something. It was like this close from being wild. Yeah. But how they managed to do that, and the sense of the tension just as you see it and walking through, and even when it first encounters everyone while it's still being shot at, was very well done. Like, they don't know what on earth is going on, why these guys shooting at the dog. Of course, they've hit someone by mistake, and it all goes wrong for the Norwegians.
Yeah.
But yes, what I did really like as well is the sense of tension.
Yeah, I mean, that was the film's strongest point for me.
Yeah.
I know when it first came out, I think it came out at the same time as E.T. and wasn't...
Yeah, I think it was literally like the same week or something.
Yeah, and it wasn't well received because obviously you had a complete contrasting...
Yeah, nice aliens versus evil
versus the Thing.
Yeah.
You
Now,
know?
what's it? The tagline for the film was it "Man is the warmest place to hide"?
Yes.
Because that did very much remind me of "In Space, No One Can Hear You Scream."
Yeah.
And there are many similarities between those two films that I noticed when we were watching it. Thematically, it's the same sort of thing. It's the haunted house, basically.
Yeah, you're trapped there. You need to rely on a small group of people, and there's distrust in the place. Yeah. It was a very simple concept, but it worked really well. And I mean,
the simple ones done right are always the best.
Well, yeah, and I think one of the other strengths was the casting. I still think that was one of Kurt Russell's best roles he's ever done. I know he's done a multitude of
very
roles.
kind of similar in some ways to Snake Plissken, but obviously Snake Plissken's like the extreme example of that type of character.
Yeah, but he was also kind of your everyman as well.
Yes. He's playing computer chess and he pours his whiskey in.
You know,
thousands of dollars worth. At that time, it would have been of equipment destroyed.
Well, yeah, but that was one of those scenes. It was a very small scene where he's losing chess to this computer clearly, and he pours his whiskey on it. Now, that for me was a statement to say, this is the type of guy he is. Yeah, he doesn't give a damn. He's going to do it his own way. Yeah, you know,
typical helicopter pilot.
Yeah, I mean, that's probably not the mindset you want with your helicopter
but
pilots.
I expect it's like that in all those Antarctic and Arctic bases and all those places in the middle of nowhere.
Well, yeah, I guess you've got to be adaptable.
Yeah. And one thing they did show more in the prequel, but it would have been going on then and they showed it a bit with the alcohol, was rampant drug usage. There's nothing else to do.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think it was very much of its time as well.
Yeah.
But yeah, you had your classic characters. You had your lead guy. You had your Kurt Russell. You had your the doctors.
The doctors. The dog guy.
The black guy. But actually, they had two. They had two. They did,
yes.
They did.
And they actually had two women in the prequel, as well.
Yeah.
No women in the original one. But that's the thing. So they go to the Norwegian base, and when the first thing you see is basically this all burned up in the snow. It's like, I'm getting right back on that helicopter.
Yeah.
And I'm leaving. And I'm never coming back.
No, but it's interesting. It's interesting. We need to dig more.
Science. Yeah. And it's funny, that was something that was very much in the prequel. It's like, the work must continue.
Yeah.
Only the work matters.
But we can delve into that in the prequel.
One thing we really need to talk about is the effects.
Yeah.
Groundbreaking at the time. Still really good now. How it's all
practical. Still think they stand
There
the
might have
test
been
of
a
time.
bit of
stop motion.
Stop motion.
Yeah, we definitely recognise that more towards the end.
Yeah,
when it's freaking out and you know you got all the tentacles flinging out. But the first scene with the dog, I still thought that was.
You mean when it?
Yeah.
Gets the others. Yeah. Yeah, that is just his head splits.
Yeah, and obviously then there's the chest.
I think I
scene.
first saw that as a child. You would
Yeah,
have done that as
definitely. Yeah. Saw it in pirate video back in the day.
Yeah.
But yes, with this chest scene,
yeah.
I still thought, even now watching that,
definitely.
that stands up against most things I've seen.
It certainly does, because nowadays, I mean, it might look more realistic because they've touched it up with CGI, but the actual just being able to use practical effects and how they actually constructed these bodies of meat and livers and all sorts.
Well, that's what made it look more real for me. I mean, if we take away from the graininess of the actual quality of film that we're watching it on, when you're looking at something that's done like in the prequel, when we watched it, I was very aware this is CGI.
Like the little bit where she notices that his arm brace has come out.
Yeah.
When his body is inside it, that had been kind of CGI'd a bit.
Yeah.
But in the one with the, not just, I was going to say the chest burster scene, that scene, but also the autopsy scene before, that's much earlier in the movie, where I said to you, "Is this the scene?" He said, "No, it's not."
No.
The use of the practical props was amazing. I obviously the one that everybody talks about is like when the head comes off, sprouts the legs, and rocks off, and it's like, what the, when they notice it, because that was the thing I didn't pick up on the first time I'd seen it, but I did notice it before. Like they didn't notice that head leaving immediately.
Yeah,
was I thought they had done when I first saw it.
Yeah, I noticed that as well, and also what I noticed with that scene, it's interesting how good editing really counts, because everyone remembers watching that head come off and then go on the floor and walk, and you don't actually see that. You see it come off, and then they cut it again, and then you see another shot, and then you see it on the floor sprouting. But because of the way the editing was done, it was almost seamless.
Yeah, and speaking of practical effects, they all used those flamethrowers.
Yeah,
and had to put out the fires that they had started.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
Yeah.
But all in all, I mean, it's still one of the top sci-fi horror movies.
Yeah.
Some people regard it as more of a horror than a sci-fi movie.
I want to say, the scene where the dog goes into someone's room and you see the shadow of the person on the wall. Do we know who that was?
No. Well,
I didn't think so. I thought it was meant to be ambiguous. But
it was meant to be
certain
ambiguous.
People it clearly wasn't.
Yeah. But it wasn't the bald-headed black guy.
Yeah, and it wasn't the commander guy, because it kind of looked like the person had a beard or something.
Yeah.
But a neat beard or something, I can't remember. But it wasn't recognisable instantly, I suppose.
Well, this is the thing about it, was that there were probably a number of them who had already been consumed.
Oh, yeah,
and
that's
replicated.
because Kurt Russell says that I know you aren't all infected because you'd all just leap me if you were. So some of you are still human.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But I thought the characters were really believable. There were some hilarious moments in it for me, especially when they're doing the test, and they're pretty much tied.
Yes, they were tied up
down,
to each other.
and the guy starts shaking, and he's like, "Get the hell off of me, man!"
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He's like just freaking out, and especially the guy at the end. Well, not at the end, but the last guy who was tested. And after all the chaos, and the guy, I think his head was just getting messed up and whatnot. And he sits there and he says, "Yeah, I know it's been a long summer and we've all been through a lot, but I'd really appreciate if I didn't spend the rest of this summer tied to this couch." Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, that was quite funny. Now, there was one thing that I said to you after we'd watched it that I wish they'd put in, but which they did put in the prequel, was like, they don't actually go in to the alien spaceship in the original, but they do in the prequel. I said to you, it's like, we should have seen the inside of it. And then we do see the inside of it. It's like, something's the best left to the imagination.
This is what I was thinking, because what I liked about the movie is that it wasn't just...
it didn't spoon-feed you.
Yeah.
Movies didn't spoon-feed you back... Can't say it. Spoon-feed you things like they do nowadays. You have to actually think for yourself.
And also just leaving things to the imagination. It's what that film did well was the unknown was scary.
The same with Alien.
Yeah, and one of the other things I liked about this movie, it didn't rely on the jump scare. I don't think...
I'm not even sure if there is a single one.
Exactly. And
that
usually,
wasn't a full trope of the genre at that point yet, though.
no, that came a lot later on. I mean, especially
it was developing, certainly, with like obviously the horror movies, the things like Halloween. And
yeah, but even then,
Alien
the
and all
jump
that stuff.
scare was very different back then. It would have been okay. You get that it's just
It's like Dallas in the shaft with the flamethrower, and then like that. That's a proper jump scare. I still find that moment terrifying in Alien.
yeah. Well, you know, terror threshold's very
Terror
different.
threshold's very different.
But what I find interesting is it's not accompanied by this big jolty sound to desensitize you, because I think another film reviewer said this as well. But when you do that continuously through a film, you're actually desensitizing the
Definitely,
audience.
and it diminishes the impact.
Yeah, and they didn't have to rely on that in the thing. I mean, at one point, I must admit, watching, I was like, God, this is a long film.
Yeah.
I don't remember it being a long film, but it didn't matter
Because it holds your attention the whole time.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, a great movie. I don't know what else to say about it. Really.
Let's see. The effects, they were great. The casting was great. Location and all that stuff.
Even the sound, music, it was very simple. I think it was just a bass guitar playing.
Yeah, it is.
Couple of
You
chords.
just need something just to elevate the tension.
Yeah.
And it did that very well.
Yeah, and you know what they didn't have in it, which is one of our pet hates in movies, and this is where this happened in the year 1778, and this is where none of that.
Yeah.
None of that.
It's just, there's a Norwegian base, we're going, and that's it. They're there, then they're back. None of this. You must go to the place,
Exposition.
find a thing, and complete the task.
Yeah, it was pretty much straightforward. This
Yeah.
is the situation we're in. This is how we need to get out of it. How
Yeah.
we're going to do that.
And the dialogue, it's trying to think of the expression. It tells you what you need to know, but it doesn't belabor the point.
Yeah.
They're just saying like this thing and been here 100,000 years and everything. And that's all you need to know. You don't need to know if it's a spaceship or where it's come from or anything like that. Just it's here and it needs to be dealt with.
Yeah.
There was no overly complicated explanations of anything. The dialogue, it was just to the point.
Yeah, it wasn't like
The writing is what makes that possible.
Yeah, it wasn't just like it was perfunctory. It was believable. These are things that people would say or have doubts about, and they express that really well in the film.
Yeah, and it shows that they're all at each other's throats, falling apart, as you'd expect to happen in that circumstance when you can't trust anyone.
Yeah.
But yes, an excellent film. The Thing.
Yeah, highly recommend.
Highly
Anyone
recommended.
who has not seen this, you need to watch this movie.
I mean, it's body horror, but it's 80s body horror, so
Yeah.
by our standards now, it's fine.
Well, yeah, because it's interesting, because when we was watching it, you spoke to someone on the phone and they were asking about what it was, and I distinctly remember you saying, okay, yeah, it's a body horror.
Sci-fi body horror.
Yeah. And it's funny because even though that is very true, it's so much more
It
than
is
that.
so much more. It's tense drama, it's sci-fi, it's horror, it's all those things. Like I said, great acting, easy plot to follow, it's out to get them.
Yeah.
Very much structured like Alien, as I say, and clearly heavily influenced by it. But yes, The Thing, great movie. We'll be watching this again at some point, and you guys should too. Why don't you let us know what you think if you have seen it? Please subscribe to my channel if you enjoyed this content. Leave me a comment suggestion for what kind of topic you'd like to see discussed, or like the video.